Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Anjana Puri, and I would like to welcome everyone for my live session. Coconut Theatre presents Chai-Wai and Manch. I would like to thank Coconut Theatre for organizing and inviting me for the session. And I've seen a number of sessions, and I think it's extremely wonderful that we've all got together. Lockdown has done something good. So that I think is wonderful. So I will just give you a very brief, try and make it as brief as possible to talk about my background. I have been singing from the age of 5. It is not singing for an audience, but I have learned music from the age of 5. And my mother was a veena player. And she put me into Gandhar Mahavidyalaya at a very young age. And at that time, Vinay Chandra Mudgal was there, and Padma Devi was there. I learned Kathak in the same place. So Durga Lal ji was there, Tirath Ram Azad ji was there. They were my gurus. And after that, I was put into Sandhya Kanya Vidyalaya in Gwalior, where again there was a lot of focus on the so-called cultural part of education or bringing up, and it was very interesting because I had the best teachers. Rukmani Arundale's sister Vishalakshi Johri was our principal. We had Puran Singh ji from Manipuri. We had a Pakhavach player Afle Sahab. We had a sitar player Phadke Sahab. We had Rudra Hanji, who was the disciple of Ram Kinkar Baij from Shantiniketan. So he was our art teacher, and there was a lot of activity, a lot of theatre, a lot of dance drama, a lot of singing, and I also had the privilege of being looked after by Gulbardhan and Prabhat Ganguly of the Rangashri Little Ballet Troupe, who were housed in Rangashri Little Ballet Troupe was in Gwalior at that time, and today it is in Bhopal. But I saw the Ramayana being practiced every day, which was choreographed and directed by Shanti Bardhan. And then I saw Panchatantra. I saw the making of Bhairavi, in which Gulbardhan did the role of Bhairavi. And so they were my local guardians, and I grew up. I saw a lot of theatre. I saw Pashutantra being created by B.M. Shah. And I also, there's so much that happened. It's like a Bhanumati ka pitara, everything, whatever I have learned, whether it is swara, whether it is kathak, whether it is painting, it's all come into that pitara, and that pitara has been my source for creating a lot of a lot of exercises, a lot of methodology, and a lot of music. I continued my music from school, went into graduation, postgraduate from Delhi University, and I also learned from Sulochana Brihaspati, and was under her tutelage for 7 years, day and night. There was no respite, and I've never seen a guru like her, who gave whatever she could. How much I have grasped, I don't know. But I know that my lessons are always in front of me whenever I am composing or whenever I am teaching. And after that, I went to Germany and studied ethnomusicology there. So I was able to listen to a lot of chants from across the world, tribal chants, folk music, different kinds of music. And you see, when one tries to compare, I'll come to that later. Okay, anyway, I did my ethnomusicology and then returned to India, returned to Delhi, came to Bhopal, and I joined Rang Vidushak as a music teacher, composer, and then something struck me. What was it? As a classical musician or as a classical performer, you, the first thing that you're drilling is discipline. And so that discipline is very, it takes, it's, it, it's something which you have to live with, something which you have to imbibe, that discipline. So that discipline makes you do riyaz. It kicks you into doing work. That's all. And as a performing artist, I think that kick is very important. It has to be, something which, which you do. That's all. You don't. There's no question why or how, when. जब आपको करना है आप करिए और वो करना ही है बस that's the rule. So when I came into theatre, I obviously saw a very different kind of, I mean, watching plays and watching a play getting created is one thing, and it is very different when you're part of that play, and not as an actor but as a teacher of the voice. So when I came to Rang Vidushak, I realized that okay, now one needs to have some discipline, but what kind of discipline? Because by the time actors come into theatre, they are around 22, 23. So it's already a maturity. You have a mind of your own. You go with the zamana, right? And then when I tried to understand this entire psyche, because they sing instinctively. They sing instinctively. So I started with my Saregama. Then there was one hand that I saw being raised, and they said कि हमको classical music नहीं सीखना. मुझे लगा कि सारेगामा तो classical नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी I went by what was being said, and it took me some time to realize that what one does in classical music cannot be applied in theatre. It has to be changed. One has to treat material as building blocks, right? So, and because it was a very, a very physical kind of theatre, halanki, that's what one thinks. It is not so. There is a methodology in Rang Vidushak which takes its base from Natkiri, from Akhadebazi, from Bahurupiyas, from a very physical body language, but it is a body language that has to be internalized, and that is where one understands that okay, it was this physical aspect. What I would talk about is that when I saw them, for instance, turning a cartwheel, okay, or I saw them doing a somersault, I saw them doing chow, because chow was there, Prabhata and Gulditi were there, the entire institute was there. So we had somebody coming to teach us chow, and but I didn't learn chow till my knees started paining, and I said no, I have to do some exercise. So best thing is to start chow. So I started doing chow, and before doing that, I used to keep thinking that okay, can the voice execute a somersault? Can it execute a cartwheel? Of course it can't. But when one says there is a wave. So I was talking about the wave, that it can or it can be so it becomes angular. These are impressions, shapes. There are impressions of shapes on the mind because one sees these shapes. The voice cannot be seen. The voice can be experienced, it can be heard, right? So when one sees, or when one hears a sound, when one hears the voice going up and down, then there is imagery created, right? And that, I think, is what the voice is all about. When one says, I feel that the voice is a canvas that is without end. Colors you cannot imagine. Satranga phika pad jata hai usme. The rainbow becomes very limited because there are so many shades of each color, and every color is an emotion. There are forms. The voice has forms. The voice has an up and down which has which is beyond everything. I think the voice does not have a geographical confine. It goes beyond. It goes beyond geography. It goes beyond. See, when one talks of this country, we have the hillscapes, we have the desertscapes, we have the oceanscapes, we have riverscapes. In theatre, you have soundscapes, and you have this soundscape is something which binds different kinds of spaces, physical spaces together. You see, gesture. If I say, okay, I have to go there, जहाँ हाथ खत्म होता है वहाँ पर भाषा शुरू हो जाती है, वहाँ आवाज शुरू हो जाती है. So the voice is an extension of the body, number one. Then it also propels the body. When I say oh, 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 uh-huh. So there's oh doesn't have any meaning. It becomes situation specific. Let me come to a very technical part. When I think of music, classical music, then you have this entire concept of swara and shruti, right? Swara is very defined. Sa, a, it's defined. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa. Each note has a space. It is between these two notes, the space between the notes, where shruti comes in play, and it measures the space between these two notes, right? So, for instance, when I say sa re ga sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa, right? So the shruti allows you to oscillate in the space between two notes. It allows play between notes, right? It is like when you have a physical space, you have a room with two walls, and the space between those two walls you measure through feet, through meters, through whatever, right? And that space becomes a base for design. You might have nothing. You might just have the sound of a bell, or you might just have the sound of a thap. But it is a presence that enters that physical space. In the same way, like these two walls, you have these two swaras, and within these two swaras, you play. You can do everything between those two swaras. Sa, so it's a play. It's just a play of the voice. Very different from this is speech. You see, you have the same words, and that also amazes me. When you talk of swara in music, and you talk of swara in the grammar. Swara in grammar is pure sound. A, E, U, E, O, pure sound. Once the teeth, the tongue, the lips, when they start working and getting the activity getting interwoven with the sound, this pure sound, then you have consonants. You have the vyanjana. So the combination of this pure sound and the swara of music has its own, you can make so many exercises, and that I think is very interesting. I find that very nice because you play with your voice. It's a game. It's a game. And Shruti in speech is different because it is not bound, it is not defined, it is not, you see, the Shruti in speech is something which is influenced by a situation, the immediate situation. Oh, 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 अच्छा जाना है, this is Shruti. अच्छा जाना है, अच्छा जाना है. तो what is the situation, the immediate situation, that influences the Shruti. And I think that's very interesting because, you see, when one speaks of, there's so many things, when one speaks of this Swar and Shruti, then it creates music, it creates speech, the voice reacts to text. I think what happens is it's very easy to oversimplify music in theatre. Why? Music is not just a song. You might make the song a base for an exercise, fine, but the song itself is not the exercise. It may be one exercise in this whole gamut of music, one part. That's it. It would become an exercise if one were to analyze the song, its situations, the tune, the rhythm, and the reason for singing it. If there is a reason, then how does the voice react to that reason? That should be part of a song. Bhai, a comma is important in speech. If, according to, जैसे Karan साहब always used to say that गाना जो है स्पीच की तरह होता है, बोलने की तरह, डायलॉग की तरह होता है, और डायलॉग जो है गाने. क्यों ऐसा होता है? हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा. We have to understand where the comma is, where a full stop is. That means the comma and the full stop cannot be ignored in a song. They become very important. I'll give you an example. We have this play called Naina Chaiya. Okay? This example is also interesting because when I began composing music, I was very rag bound. I used to think that अच्छा इसमें कौन सा राग लग सकता है. It's a very natural thing. Many people do that. So it was difficult firstly, and I always used to keep my tunes very simple. Why? Because our group of actors were instinctive singers. They were not trained. They were not trained singers. And they came from from a Mufassil background. They came from very small districts and towns where probably it was not possible for them to learn what they wanted to learn. So it was, for me, it was a godsend because I learned how to teach. Right? So when these people turned up, I said, ठीक है, हम लोग ये नैना चैया कर रहे हैं. And there is this character. I mean, okay, the first song is it's the beginning. It's the Purvarang. It's not even Purvarang. It's the beginning in the sense that the first song, which is the introduction of the play. So it goes like. रंग विदूषक स्वागत करता आप सभी जो कलावंत हैं, जीवन के अनमोल क्षणों का यही गृह. रंग विदूषक स्वागत करता आप सभी जो कलावंत हैं, जीवन के अनमोल क्षणों का कभी ग्रीष्म और कभी बसंत है. कितना खोया कितना पाया, कितना खोया कितना पाया, कितना खोया कितना पाया, ना कोई इसका आदि अंत है. बादर ने बिजुरी को खोया, बिछड़ा कहीं कोई कंत है, ए शिवहास सा जमा हुआ है, शिवहास सा जमा हुआ है, बिखरा शरद दिग दिगंत है. तो why am I singing this? Because these two lines, बादर ने, ये मियाँ मल्हार है. And I thought that because of the kind of text that we were handling, I said this would be fine just to give it, bring in a touch of it, touch of this, what do you call it, this rag, because it is season based. It's a season based rag. So theatre that way allows you to bring in everything. I mean, in classical music, a rag is time bound, a rag is season bound, right? In Basant you don't sing Miyamalar, it doesn't happen. So or in the, and this is in Hindustani music, I'm not talking about Carnatic music. Hindustani music, where Carnatic music does not follow the time theory in this way. So therefore for me it was interesting how one can bring in something which is different into a song which is also, I think, very very open to everything, open to bringing in sounds, bringing in tunes, rag, na ho, it doesn't matter, but you're allowed to do it, which doesn't happen in classical music. Then there is another form, the tappa form. Tappa means what? Tappa means to, it's a bounce, like a ball bounces. So, and a ball bounces depending on the force and the speed and where it stops. What is it that makes it stop? You know. So this tappa is a form which has a lot of movement. It's like, I'll show you. I'll sing out this thing. गुलशन में तो कुमरी शोर कर दावे, ए नजारों दी बहारा. Okay, and so when I did the music for this play, there's one sequence of the protagonist's wife who's alone and she's missing her husband, and he has gone lost. He's become a baba. So she sings, and at that time that was a bit of cheating that I did, because obviously the actors would not have been able to sing a tappa, but I wanted to somehow bring it in. So मैंने क्या किया? I made them sing just one. It was just one sound. Okay, so कपासी चांदनी की कैसी ये चुभन, बींधती मन को तीखी ये चुभन, भूला नदी से नदी का किनारा, भंवरे ने दिया फूलों को बिसारा, भीगी चूनर आंसू की नदियाँ, भटका गगन में कोई सितारा. So obviously they would not have been able to sing it, so I was very happy. I sang my song. I mean, I still tell myself, no, that was wrong, because somehow one has to, the actors should be able to sing, not because they have to become singers, but because they should understand the ups and downs of the voice. That is important. So, this was it. This was the tappa part. And then I also realized that, see, then gradually as the years went on, I realized that there had to be a methodology. Without a methodology, and methodology, okay, is a very Western term. Okay, call it a work process, call it a riyaz, a form of riyaz, a form of teaching. I have never understood why in music we talk of music. See, music is a part of theatre in India. It might have become very different, but there are so many parallel streams. If you talk of the Nautanki, you talk of the urban theatre, you talk of the rural theatre, you talk of semi-rural theatre, you talk of tribal, the way they do their bits of their form. You talk the Katha Gayaki, where everything comes in. It's such a rich, there's such a rich wealth in this country. Why is it that we are not able to why is it that we are not able to think of something? You see, you should be able to teach in theatre, you should be able to teach music, but with a difference. And that was my thesis. 15 years I went from city to city, from state to state, with exercises that I had developed in Rang Vidushak. And I took those exercises across the country in different linguistic regions, not because I mean, for me it was very important. It was a test for me, not for the actors. I had to know whether I was a good teacher, whether I had something which I could offer to the students. That is important. A song is not the end, the beginning and end of theatre music. One has to understand that. The song might become a medium to explain something, but it is not the lesson itself. So therefore, and wherever I went, when I did this chow, when I started learning, I realized that, okay, you talk of your body and your voice, they have to come together. There has to be one. See, no actor is going to give me 30 years to learn music. So I have to have my kit, I have to have my exercise, which says, okay, there are 3 units, there's voice, there's rhythm, and there's movement. And all these 3 have to be there within one exercise. There has to be this entire concept of creating formations within those exercises. And that's why I thought a dhun was very, very important. A dhun, a tune, is very important, because a tune becomes cyclic. There might be, say, 10 matras or 16 matras, beats, depending on what. I don't go by that. I mean, when I teach now, I don't require anything except the actor, and I need space. That's it. I don't need a harmonium, I don't need tabla, I don't need anything. Because I feel the body is a complete instrument. It has rhythm, it has voice, it has movement. What more do you want? It has imagination, you can imagine. So that is when and then it was a very big my thesis was called voice, rhythm and movement. Voice, rhythm and movement, and a pedagogical approach to train the actor's voice. Actor's voice based on Indian musical traditions, something like that. I did it a long time back, but this is what it was. So,
Your session is going good.
okay.
If you
Yeah, sure. So, so this I did it a long time back, so I don't remember the byline of the thesis, but it was basically this, and because it took me a very long time. You know, wherever I went, I did not go by my exercises only. Exercises in theatre must be applicable. They must, exercise has to transform into performance. That is important. So therefore, when one, for me, it was also very interesting because I said that no, I will not go by the trodden path. I will think of my own path. I'll create a new path. So for me, all my exercises in music were was material. They were building blocks. So what I had learned for 30 to 40 years continuously, I categorically broke that. So it was something that had to be broken and reformed, reconstructed, rebuilt. And that's why you have this entire concept of construction, deconstruction and reconstruction. Yeah, you create, you break and you recreate, और आप रचाते हैं, विघटन करते हैं और पुनर्रचना होती है. That's important. And for me, that's why I felt that these are my building blocks. Whatever I had learned, whatever sounds, with all due respect to Christine Linklater and Cecily Berry and all these great stalwarts who have done huge amount of research and are fantastic teachers, have been fantastic teachers. For me, I have never understood why is it that we want to tailor something which does not emerge from this soil. भाई सब्जी वाले को आप 3 सड़क पार सुनते हैं, you listen to the sabzi wala and so you say okay, I have to buy this, so let me bring out my tokri. He doesn't get a stomachache, his throat doesn't go bad, he doesn't start coughing, he doesn't have a problem in breathing. Why is it that the actor has this problem? Because we have not gone into, you see, bhai, singing is pranayam, it's yoga. So to have a separate way of singing in class, a separate way of exercising, a different kind of culture that tells you how to breathe. Why doesn't an actor, the moment I asked, this has happened very often, that the moment I asked an actor, ki, okay, what exercises have you done in your voice training? Patak say he holds his diaphragm and he starts breathing. Why do you want to hold the diaphragm? It's not required. The diaphragm will remain there. It will not go anywhere. The chest voice is important. The rest is a support system. You have to, if even today when I do my riyaz, I practice, I do a lot of mad things. So I take a 108 की माला और उसमें मैं कर देती हूँ अपना सारा सरगम कर देती हूँ. I do it 108 times. So automatically your voice, your breathing becomes part of the base to create something. It has to be strong. The voice has to be strong. So I think that kabadi wala, sabzi wala, inki jo pukar hai, they are amazing voices. Amazing, because there's a sense of musicality, there is a sense of rhythm, there is a sense of, भाई सब्जी वाला रुक कर सब्जी नहीं चलाता है, वो चलते चलते सब्जी अपनी सब्जी वाला पुकार लेता है ना, एक जगह नहीं खड़े होकर करता है. तो therefore this is what theatre also says, bhai, the difference between the classical music and music in theatre is that you do not sit in one place. You have a music pit, fine, that's a different thing. But when I say that the actor has to sing, the actor doesn't sit in one place. He has to move or she has to move. By the voice measures space. It measures time. There's one song, Kehen Kabir में एक हम लोगों का गाना है. I'll just tell you what it is. It is very interesting. It's without rhythm, right? Sugava pinjarva chor bhagan Sugava sapa राग गड़बड़ हो गया. पिंजरवा छोर भागा सुगवा पिंजरवा छोर भागा, इस पिंजरे में 10 दरवाजा की बरवा लगा, पिंजरवा छोर भागा सुगवा, पिंजरवा छोर भागा, अखियन से तिनीर बहन लाग्यो, अब कसना ही तो बोलत भागा, पिंजरवा छोर भागा, कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, उड़ गयो हंस टूट गयो तागा, पिंजरवा छोर भागा. तो ये जो दिस कॉम्पोजिशन, I had to take one round of the performance space. Now, no performance space is the same unless it's a proscenium theatre where you have certain measurements. But when it is not that, when spaces are different, and you know that you can take only one round while singing this song, what is it that steers me to be able to, or maneuvers me to be able to complete one circle while singing that song in whichever space? I cannot take 2 circles. I have only 1 circle. So therefore, the song remains the same. The song doesn't change. The space changes. That means your steps have to change. Your walk has to change. The speed that you take has to change. And this is what music does. It measures space. The voice measures space. That's very important. There's one question. Body is complete music. It has it all: voice, rhythm, and movement. Exercise transform into performance. Acha, okay. So therefore, these things are a part of. So this measuring space and time is something that the voice does. I mean, one of my exercises is when I ask a boy to just say "Mera naam," supposing I say "Mera naam Anjana hai," right? Anjana hai, and I say, okay, diagonally you cut across. You cut across the space where we are working, and you say मेरा नाम अंजना, रोहित, वोहित, जो भी नाम है. But you can't increase the sentence. You can't make it smaller. You can't expand your voice. How would you do it? This is one exercise. And it's interesting because your walk, the space that you cover while walking has to synchronize with the voice. The voice, space, movement, rhythm. The rhythm is in your feet. The rhythm is in your walk. The voice is arrhythmic, right? The statement, the question is without rhythm. So these are combinations which are very important. And I don't know, are there any questions? Any questions?
Honorable, if you want to talk, you can talk for 30 more minutes.
How many minutes left?
About time.
Okay.
You can talk till 7:15.
7:15.
6:37.
Okay. So
Well, 7:15 it is. 7:15 tak it's 6:40.
6:40. Okay. So again, when we come back to exercise, therefore I keep wondering that this country has so many spaces, so many kinds of spaces, and that's why it would be foolish to think that there should be one methodology to teach the voice. It can't happen. Manipur, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Kashmir, they are all different. They're very different from each other. Their voices are different. Bhai, the geography of a region influences the voice. When I'm in the plains, when I'm in a, I don't have problems of breathing. I'm fine. I can take a pirouette. I can sing. I can do everything. But when I try to do this in the mountains, it's not possible. It's not possible because you require to contain your oxygen. Huh? So therefore, those uh, you your kind of movements, the voice, the way it is produced, these are all things that are influenced by the geography, by the regions that one comes from. Um, Instruments become different. The wood in maybe a forest in the hills is different from the woods in Karnataka. There are different kinds. आंध्र प्रदेश का अलग होगा जो कहीं और भाई the wood is different, the seasons are different, the climate is different, and therefore I remember once I went and got a harmonium from Calcutta and I was really proud about it, and then we came back to Bhopal and the harmonium gave way. कुछ हो गया उसका the wood, something happened. So I just kept wondering why should this happen considering harmoniums are so good in Bengal. Then I realized it's possible that the wood is different, the climate is different, and that I think is very. One doesn't take that into consideration at all. That भाई जहाँ पर एक चीज़ बनती है, by the time you bring it to another place, it takes on it changes, things change, and there are a lot of questions. I'm just wondering, unless we recognize. Which is more appreciated, musical play? I don't think I can answer that question because Keyur Sethi, because I haven't seen all the plays, and I think why should one compare performances? Each is good, and each, well, fine. There are certain plays that stick in your mind, but I don't know which is really the best, which has been the best. I've seen a lot of good plays, so I wouldn't like to say which is the best. And the difference between Hindustani and Carnatic music, I think maybe one has to listen to it to understand the difference, and that becomes a little. You have to listen to music, I suppose, to see the difference. Then there's one more. What are the possibilities of integrating music in contemporary theatre? This is a nice question. You see, when one talks of music in theatre today, in the urban theatre, one sees that everything is any sound has become music, becomes part of the music in a play. I look at it a little differently. What I think is that agar hamare paas, if there are traffic sounds, right, and if there are industrial sounds, if there is a bazaar, if there are people talking, all these one on top of each other, so there's a layering of sounds. There's a layering of sounds. There was one play, I forget the name of the play, in which the broom becomes part of the, what do you call it, part of the soundscape. And there was another play where a pressure cooker becomes part. There was no, in that play where the pressure cooker became part of the soundscape, there was no dialogue. It was just movement and different sounds. So you had images coming. See, these are, I don't know. I find it very difficult because I think it is escapism. Escapism from training the voice. You see, there's another thing that also comes to my mind is when we talk of music in the urban theatre today. So we use a lot of recorded music. Fine, very good. But you take ready-made music, and you forget to give references. Bhai kahan se liya? Who is it? So that I think is a steady way towards plagiarism, and I don't go by that at all. If you want to record music, then you better well have a good knowledge of music, so that you're able to understand what you're recording, what are you taking, and why should you not record your own music? Why should you lift music and use it as your own in a play? I don't think that's right. It's not right. I mean, I keep thinking that we have such a huge country. Why don't we have more methodologies or ways of teaching the music, the voice in theatre? That should happen. Why does it not happen? I don't have an answer for that. But I know that if I have to do my work, then I have to have a methodology, and I have to have my kit, and I have to be very prepared for a class that I go into. And let me tell you, my class is not restricted to the institutes, whether it's National School of Drama or whether it is the MPST, MP School of Drama, or Bharatiya Natya Academy, or any kind of university department. No. There are so many groups that require training, and why should one not give them training? Everybody can't come to these institutes. So that I think is very important, because you see, it is difficult to create your own path, but one should learn to do it. If I have learned for 30 years, and why have I learned for 30 years? There was no need for me to do that. I would have gone along with a song, good, fine. If a song becomes a number of, say, 10 songs, and you strum them into a kind of string them together and create a kind of a informal presentation, I don't go by that. I think one has to work a little harder and have something else, because music has to be redefined. The voice has to be redefined. When one talks about the voice being an endless canvas, then that endless canvas has to have something. It has to. You have to have a base for that canvas. And in theatre, the sky is the limit. You can do everything with your voice, and it should be done. One is scared because one is scared of music with a few musicians. I think Jaidev ji has asked about. You see, the problem about having musicians in a play is I think it's wonderful, but very often what happens is they don't have time. They don't give enough time, and that's why you go to the synthesizer. The synthesizer has environmental sounds, it has the rabab, it has the sitar, it has the pakhavaj, it has the dholak, it has everything except the human voice. Thank God we still have the human voice with us. Otherwise, we would be having the synthesizer singing for us, and I think that would be very, very sad. Recorded music is fine, but and I suppose it's also required. If one doesn't have musicians, what does one do? One records. Therefore, I think the actor needs to sing. The actor needs to be able to play with the voice, and I emphasize on that, and I think that one has to have the desire to break something which has been made. That I think is very important. And recorded music from others means what? I mean, you're taking it from the internet, or from what? From where? Are you creating it? So these you see, institutes have a lot of facilities. Groups in
Under 640.
Okay. Institutes have facilities. They have everything. It is only the groups that are in different parts of the country which need to be trained. They need training and they want it. So why not give it to them? Everybody can't come to the NSD. Everybody can't come to me. And it's difficult. It's difficult. But as spoken of recorded music, what about music live with a few musicians in the play? I think it's very nice. Why not? If one is able to do that, it doesn't happen very often now, and that's why one thinks of recorded music recorded music from others, bhai, fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with recorded music, but at least know what you're recording. आपके कान, you have to have good ears. You should be able to understand, decipher what you are recording and why are you doing it. So that, I think, is very important. The actor needs to sing, but not to become a vocalist, but to understand his voice. That is why you see, when I learned from Sulochana जी, एक बहुत अच्छी चीज़ कहती थी वो कहती थी कि भाई आप गाना गा रहे हैं और if you have a text and you're singing it, that text itself has a story to tell, right? तो वो कहती थी कि अगर आपकी टेक्स्ट साफ नहीं है तो हम तो फिर पूछेंगे भाई हम ये कहेंगे कि आप बहुत अच्छे बजे, आपने गाया नहीं, आप बज गए. तो आई थिंक दैट one should avoid, one should understand the text that one is using, and that's why the voice plus the text, they have to be synchronized, there has to be an interweaving, and that's why again come back to the same thing, that voice, rhythm and movement, three things, they have to come together. What else? Are there any more questions? In musical play, recorded music is better or live singer? भाई म्यूजिकल प्ले में अगर if the actor can sing, what's wrong with that? I think it's very good if the actor sings, है ना? Instead of having recorded music is क्या कहते हैं उसको, सुविधाजनक है. It helps, it's a support. अगर मान लो आखिर टाइम में म्यूजिशियन नहीं आता, then you at least have the recorded part, which is good, but the actor should be able to sing. What else? About the methodology, talk about the methodology, Ajay Sharma ji. Okay, the methodology itself, when I start a class, for me it is, if there are say 20 people or 15 people, I find it very important that there should be one sound, one vocal sound. I don't say sa, I don't say re, I just say ah. So is a sound that everybody gets to. और जाहिर सी बात है, every person has a different voice, every person has a different tone, a different note. So the first 3 days are a struggle because I need to get everybody in line, voice wise. So it's once these three, because these 3 days are critical, because they assess you and I assess them. They assess me and I assess them. So I have 3 days. So we get, once those 3 days are over, then songs come, tunes are sung, the body moves with a tune. So you have this rhythm, there is no rhythm that is used. It is the rhythm within the tune itself that propels the body into motion, right? And so therefore when I say okay, move according to the rhythm of a tune, then tunes are so many, rhythms also change. So therefore the pace of the body, the pace of the movement also changes. So, and every day there's a new tune, or I tell them to record it, and so record it on their mobile, so that I forget, but they should remember the tune. So one gets back to the same tune and starts a different exercise, uses the same tune, or changes the tune and has the same physical exercise. So there are a lot of ways that one can analyze an exercise. And at the end of the day, when you have these exercises, it is not just it is not just the movement of the body. How do you form? How do you get into a group and get out of a group? That's also there. And Rang Vidushak, the plays are very interesting because I think that's my analysis of what I see is that the protagonist is the chorus, because you see, whether you have 20 voices and 20 bodies, the movement is one, the voice is one. That is important. And whatever amount of people there are, there has to be a sync, and that is very important. And therefore, for instance, I have this thing about, okay, I'll give you one when for the first time, I don't play the harmonium. I don't know how to play it. I haven't learnt it. And we were always told that तानपुरा के कान में तानपुरा की झनकार होनी चाहिए, उसकी झन होनी चाहिए और उसी पर आपका गाना होना चाहिए. मैंने कहा ठीक है. तो हमने कभी हारमोनियम बजाया नहीं, सीखा नहीं. तो जब हम रंग विदूषक में आए, I suddenly realized, okay, I have to play the harmonium. But I always kept the harmonium in front of me and used just one note or two notes so that I had a basic tone, basic key note. And we were doing CD dar CD of Tukke Pe Tukka, or it starts with a lehra. Tara na 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 na, tara na 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 na, tara na 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 na. Fine. अब जो हमारे हारमोनियम बजाने वाले थे, his name was Lakshman Bharti, and very good, a very good performer, very good artist. And 2 days before the performance, this man goes off to his village and I am stuck because I don't know how to play the harmonium. And the director tells me, हारमोनियम बजाइए. मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं आता है. फिर क्या करेंगे आप? हम क्या करेंगे वहाँ पर? That was the time when I decided, okay, how do I go about it? Then I took the bowls of pakhavas. Dha tit dha dha dha, धागे तिर किट धाते ता, धातिर किट तक धाते धाते धा. So this is how they came out. The group of performers, they sang, they moved, they had the protagonist on their shoulders, and they came out onto the stage singing this. So I was saved from playing the harmonium, but also I thank God I was able to think of something at that time. So that has stuck until today. We have the same way of entering the stage, that doesn't change. So what is it? Is the challenge only a few that have researched well can achieve the harmony? Huh? The synchronized performance is the challenge only you have researched well can. The harmony is the evidence of the fact that theatre workers in convent not in isolation, right? So there's a collective. There has to be a collective, and that collective has within it everything. It has within it music. It has within it movement. It has within it rhythm. And how much time left?
Any time.
Okay, I'll sing one more song and then I will. There's a Kabir का एक पद है which I have composed on like a tappa, because I love the tappa. I think it's a beautiful. सखियो हम हूँ भाई बलमास, सखियो हम हूँ भाई बलमासी, आयो जो बन बिरह सतायो, आयो जो बन बिरह सतायो, अब मैं ज्ञान गली ठलाती, आयो जो बन बिरह सतायो, अब मैं ज्ञान गली ठलाती, ज्ञान गली में खबर मिली गए, ज्ञान गली में खबर मिली गए, हमें मिली पिया की पाती, सखियो हम हूँ भई बलमासी। वापाती में अगम संदेशा, वापाती में अगम संदेशा। अब मैं मरण को ना डराती, वापाती में अगम संदेशा। अब मैं मरण को ना डराती, कह कबीर सुनो भाई प्यारे, कह कबीर सुनो भाई प्यारे, वर पाए अविनाशी। सखियो हम हूँ भाई बलमासी, सखियो हम हूँ भाई बलमासी। सखियो हम हूँ भई बलमासी, सखियो हम हूँ भई बलमासी। This is one question, I think, provide some tips for aspiring theatre researchers, depending on depending on what area of theatre. I don't know. I mean, I can talk about the music part, but the rest I really don't know. I mean, what could you? I don't know. I think you have to just see the countries, see the art forms, see the different kinds of theatre that you have. And I really don't know what your interest in theatre, because you see, for me, when I think of theatre, I look at theatre from the eyes of music. I can't look at it in any other way. So therefore, I think every theatre worker or theatre performer or actor or director must be having something. If it's painting that you like, then you see the movement of colors. If it is songs that or music that you like, you see the movement of swaras. Or if you see, you can talk of total movement in theatre, because again I come back to that same voice, rhythm and movement, because these three things, they are there in everything. Subjective, definitely. How I interpret music doesn't mean it has to be like you, or you don't have to be like me. No, you have your own way of interpreting, and that's where the beauty is. And that's where I think one has to one has to have very different ways of understanding music, different ways of interpreting it, different ways of what do you call it, creating it or expressing it. And I think please relate this to Tatani's. I don't think I can answer these questions. I'll need more time, and I think I'd like to finish this session and hope, with the hope that we will again meet. And tomorrow at 6 p.m. the renowned choreographer Sandeep Soparkar will be live for his session on Coconut Theatre's Facebook page. So have a safe stay at home, and thank you so much for everything.